Okay, so same disclaimers as last time. Check out Red Letter Media's Attack of the Clones review for what I think is the definitive review. And number two, this is going to be about a broader topic in cinema, not just about Star Wars Attack of the Clones. Anyway, here we go. Well, here we go again. Another Star Wars prequel. If you were to ask most fans what their least favorite film in the series is, this is probably it. Often cited reasons for its failure are long drawn-out romance scenes, poor acting, cringe-inducing dialogue, and a convoluted plot that doesn't make sense, in addition to many lingering criticisms regarding the use of CGI. So, like last time, let's try to break this down and discover the genesis of these problems. How can we learn from this film in order to better understand franchise filmmaking? Let's first look at the dialogue in this movie.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Yeah, that's the one people usually go to, mainly because it's really stupid. But that's actually not my least favorite line in the film. This is right here.
I'm haunted by the kiss that you should never have given me. My heart is beating, hoping that that kiss will not become a scar. You are in my very soul, tormenting me.
That's not how people talk. That's not how emotions or ideas are conveyed. That's a superficial bit of dialogue that wishes it was an archaic line of poetry. It's meant to sound like a highbrow piece of Victorian English that would embellish and elevate the scene to something out of a classic novel or epic poem. And that's fine, mind you, if it actually worked with the context of the film. However, most popular films are written to convey English as you or I would speak it, including the original Star Wars trilogy and other parts of this film. It's asynchronous with how viewers expect the characters to interact. It's not a fatal flaw, but it's one that could have been polished up a bit with an extra revision or fresh pair of eyes when writing the script. The dialogue may have made sense to Lucas when he was writing it, but to those of us on the outside it doesn't quite fit and it takes us out of the film. The characters in the film, likewise, are written in a way that is thematically confusing to us, even if their role in the story is not. Anakin is painted two different ways by those around him. He's either a wise, noble, honor-bound Jedi that is tragically seduced by the dark side, or an impulsive, reckless rogue who often rides the line between hero and villain. Those two things are, in a way, mutually exclusive, and he, unfortunately, acts like neither in the film. If he was a noble, honor-bound Jedi, why would he be the one making the advances on a dismissive and distant Padme? She continues to turn him down because of her position as a senator, but he continues to express his desires to her. That seems a little backwards, doesn't it? Shouldn't she be the one tempting him, and he's resisting because of the vows he took to the Jedi Order? Or how about this? If he's so impulsive and ready for a fight, why did Obi-Wan jump out the window towards the centipede delivering droid? That was a risky maneuver, and the only reason Obi-Wan survived was because Anakin left to find a speeder in order to catch him. Obi-Wan took the risk, and Anakin did the calculated cleanup. Both of these examples show how the character of Anakin is a muddied mess. Not morally ambiguous, just confusing. The stories and descriptions we hear the others recount don't fit with what we see on screen, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to us. And flipping those roles wouldn't have affected the main beats of the story in any way. Anakin jumping out of the window and Obi-Wan catching him still would have led to the speeder chase, and Padme tempting Anakin still would have led to their secret marriage. Both of these would have been minor tweaks to the script had an extra draft been prepared by a second screenwriter. The plot, too, is a bit of a mess. We can question the character motivations and logical course of action all day long, but I'm referring to a very specific plot point right now. Something that a lot of viewers may not have noticed.
Please tell your master, Cypher Diaz, that his order will be met on time.
I'm sorry, Master...
Jedi Master Cypher Diaz is still a leading member of the Jedi Council, is he not?
Master Cypher Diaz was killed almost 10 years ago.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Who's Sifo Dyas? No, really, who is he? This character had never been mentioned before in the franchise ever before this, and never would be again after this. It's not Palpatine using his Sith name, Sidious, because Obi-Wan has clearly heard of this real Jedi before. He existed. But we get no explanation as to who he was, how he died, or most importantly, why he would order the creation of a clone army. His backstory was later fleshed out in novels and comics, none of which are canon anymore, in order to explain this plot point. So why did this happen? Well, the creation of the army was ultimately the work of Sidious, and Lucas had intended to have Sidious's name attached to the army, but this was changed at the last minute because of a typo. Yes, a typo. Lucas misspelled the name Sidious, or a stylization thereof, and just went with it. Rather than revise the script to correct the spelling of the name, Lucas created an entirely new character that would go on to become one of the biggest fan-centered cleanup jobs in the franchise, all because one man wrote and directed the entire film. And therein lies the problem with Attack of the Clones. It's all about creative control. Before I go on to say some controversial things about filmmaking, let me first point out that I do not think all movies should be studio-controlled cookie-cutter films. All movies should, hopefully, come from some creative part of a writer's head. That being said, there are lots of writers who have bad ideas, and not every single one deserves to be put onto the screen in its original form. Film is a collaborative medium. Directors work with writers, who work with actors, who work with musicians, who work with editors, who work with producers. There are hundreds of people who contribute to a film to varying degrees, so to boil down the creative aspect to one person can lead to problems. Sure, there are exceptions, and there have been some amazing visionaries who have given us groundbreaking films. But let's not forget that the original 3 Star Wars films all had different directors, writers, editors, and producers working with George Lucas to help bring about his vision to the screen. When was the last time you saw something happen at work that you later tried to recount to your friends only to see their bewildered faces? I guess you had to be there, you'd concede, as their way of hearing the story didn't quite jive with your way of telling it. Or at an even more fundamental level, when was the last time you were trying to tell a story and your audience didn't quite get what you were going for? It happens a lot to people, and that's because storytelling is subjective. Oftentimes, it's helpful to have objective people assist in the telling of a story. Someone may have an idea or story brewing in their head for years, so long that he or she has an intimate understanding of the story, but the outside world does not. That story needs to be tweaked if you want it to click with large audiences. If you want to write off that large audience and call it a passion project, that's fine, but understand that it may not be as big a blockbuster as some more collaborative works, like Star Wars. This is tricky too, because how much tinkering will you allow before you call it off? You don't want there to be too many cooks in the kitchen. There have been many cases in which famous filmmakers have left projects due to tampering with their work. It's tough to strike a balance, but at the end of the day, it's something that needs to be done if you want the film to be a big hit. After all, no one said making a Star Wars film was easy. Attack of the Clones just didn't have that collaborative aspect. Actors couldn't bring anything new to the script, like they had in previous films.
I love you.
I know.
Different directors weren't able to put their unique visual flair on the film. No producers challenged any questionable decisions, and there were no fresh eyes checking the script, leading the dialogue to be
Coarse and rough.
unrelatable. That's what I wanted to say. Unrelatable. I will leave you with one last quote. It comes from Gary Kurtz, the producer behind American Graffiti, Star Wars, and Empire Strikes Back, who no longer works for Lucasfilms. He said about George, "One of the problems that Lucas has now in the Lucasfilm empire is the fact that he doesn't have more people around him who really challenge him." And those are our thoughts on Attack of the Clones. Do you have thoughts of your own? Let us know in the comments down below. And as always, for more games, comics, movies, and more, keep it right here on Nerdy Inc.